Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here. We're going to get started in a few minutes. I just wanted to get in a couple of minutes early and make sure that everybody can hear me. So as you enter the room, what I would love for you to do is go to the chat and type in your name and then your, oh yeah, look at just nobody's, oh yeah, there are a few people in. Yeah, type in your name and where you're from, and I'll type that in here. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. So team, I see admins are in, so that must be my team. Go ahead and just type into Skype if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Just type into Skype if you can hear me. It's about a 15-second delay. So there we go. Now we have a lot of people in. Yeah, so as you come in, just type into the chat and let me know if you can hear me and let me know where you're from. Okay. Judy, yay, Judy from Hartford, West Hartford. Give me a second. Let's see, I'm going to do this in a display a sticky message. There we go. Minnesota, but nobody's saying whether they hear me. So I don't know if you're saying that because you see the message or you're hearing me. So I'm assuming you're hearing me. Yay, loud and clear. Woohoo. Awesome. Michelle from Maryland, Janet from Roseville, California, Dorothy from Connecticut, Judy from Connecticut, a lot of Connecticut's. Hungary. Ooh, Janos from Hungary. It must be pretty late there. Must be like 2 in the morning. We're going to have to get you some sleep. Lynn from along the Minnesota-Iowa border, Atlanta, they're going too loud for me to even catch you all. But thank you all for being here. I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here. And I'm excited to be doing this presentation again. I think 3 is about my max to do a presentation. It's going to be different a little bit here and there just because I have a hard time doing the same thing over and over. I get bored easily. But no, this topic is not boring to me at all. This topic is what I totally love to teach. The reason I totally love to teach it is because of the impact. And I just hear over and over again of people telling me their stories, and it just warms my heart to see the impact that these little changes that we're going to talk about tonight can make such a difference in your life, the quality of your life, and the lives of others around you, and the fact that they feel comfortable with you feeling better. So we're going to go ahead and get started because it's 7 now, and I appreciate you guys being here and being on time. And I'm going to go ahead and start recording. And there we go. So hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo, and we are here for our webinar, a training webinar, and it's called The 5 Strategies Busy People Need to Release Belly Fat, Brain Fog, and Fatigue for Good. And here's the thing, you may listen to those symptoms and say, well, those aren't real serious symptoms, right? But they're annoying when you have them. And they are serious when they impact the quality of your life. But you may be so used to having them that you can't even imagine life without it. I'll tell you, when I got rid of my brain fog and then it came back because I didn't do what I was supposed to do and I fell back into some traps. And it came back, I realized how bad it was. So you don't really realize until it goes away. And then if it comes back, I'd rather you not have it come back, but we're going to teach you some ways, some things that you can incorporate in your own life on a regular basis, some changes that you will make on a regular basis that can impact everything, that can make all the difference in the world and the quality of your life. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to cover. The symptoms that we're going to cover, the brain fog, the belly fat, the fatigue, that feeling of being burned out, some aches and pains in your joints, and even autoimmune diseases. These are symptoms that really are just the tip of the iceberg. Now, an autoimmune disease may not feel or seem like the tip of the iceberg because that can be a deeper level. But the symptoms that you experience as a result of that, may seem minor, and they may be discounted by your doctors. They may be discounted by the people that you're entrusting to care for you when you go and say, I just don't feel right. I hear that all the time. I just don't feel right. I don't feel like myself anymore. I'm too tired. I'm brain fogged. And in reality, when the doctors say to you, there's nothing wrong with you here, go take a muscle relaxant or go take a Miralax for your constipation and go take some Valium or, something else for your anxiety. And let's have you drink caffeine. It'll help your fatigue. It's just Band-Aids. And we'll talk more about Band-Aids in a little bit. So I want you to know that these are the tip of the iceberg symptoms. What they really could be indicative of something very deep that's going on underneath the surface. Oftentimes that fatigue, belly fat, brain fog, that little memory loss when you walk into a room and you can't remember what you went there for, those can be the signs of a condition we've talked about in a bunch of our webinars and a bunch of our other trainings. And it's a symptom of this other underlying condition and imbalance in your blood sugar. And we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. And here's the thing. What could be going on underneath that you're not seeing is the damage that's done to your blood vessel linings, the damage that's done to your brain, the damage that's done year after year after year until something serious happens and sometimes fatal. And that's what happened to my mom. My mom was a 56-year-old woman. She had really no major complaints. She wasn't on any major medications other than the Advil and other things for aches and pains. She had not been diagnosed with a heart condition. She didn't have high blood pressure, but she had a lot of the tip of the iceberg symptoms. She was fatigued, but you know what? She had to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon, but she had raised 9 kids and she just had 3 living still at home, but one was a child. The other 2 were grown up. And she only had the one child to take care of who was at school most of the day. And she was still fatigued in the afternoon. But you just say, doctor says, somebody who's a mom of 9 is tired. It's like, yeah, come back to me when you have a real problem. She had different aches and pains. She'd been diagnosed with arthritis for as long as I remember. I think she was in her 20s when she was diagnosed with arthritis. Now, knowing what I know, it probably was rheumatoid. And going back to, she had a little skin cancer removed. She had a little belly fat, but very little for someone who had just had 9 kids. So that was chalked up. So all these little things that were really the sign of that iceberg underneath. That's why one day she took a nap after she was gardening and she didn't wake up. She had a massive heart attack. And there she is about 3 weeks before she died. She had no idea. My dad had no idea. None of us had any idea that this was brewing under the surface. She was a perfectly healthy, happy, normal person. Healthy, happy in the normal of our modern society. And this was 20-something years ago, like 25 years ago, 26 years ago. And even then, that was just considered the normal stuff. You just had your normal aches and pains. After all, you're in your 50s, right? And I don't have any of those. I don't have any of those aches and pains. I'm in my 60s. Right. And a lot of the people that I work with are in their 70s and 80s and they recover and they don't have aches and pains like that. So if you've got them, if you are fatigued, if you are brain fogged, if you've got that little extra pooch in front of you, don't just throw it off as, oh yeah, I'll take care of it next time, tomorrow. If my mom had known about the things I'm going to teach you today and said, it's too hard to do. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next year. She would have thrown away the opportunity to reverse some things that were happening, and she might still be alive today. So don't let that happen to you, because what happened to it, it devastated our family. It's my family, 9 children. I'm the oldest. I'm up in this corner over here. She's obviously the youngest. She and I are 20 and a half years apart. And the brothers and the sisters and everybody. This is, I think, as far as I know, the last picture we have of everybody together, because we all, went off and got married and that's what happens, right? The families don't get together in that big unit after that. But that's one of my favorite pictures. It really touches my heart. My mom died in 91. My dad died 2 years later in 93. Same thing, same exact thing. Only, he had a little bit more. I mean, at one point they said he had hypertension and they put him on medication. So he had a few of the other warning signs and those were ignored as well. And then a few years later, about maybe 10 years later, my sister, Kathy, this one here, she's the youngest other than the baby, youngest daughter other than the baby. She's the fifth. She died of lymphoma. So it was like my family started getting torn apart. And I believe that had they known about and incorporated the diet lifestyle changes that we're going to talk about today, the nutritional balance things that balance hormones, they would still be with us today. They would still be with us today. And it tore our family apart. So if you're here and you're thinking, oh, I'll get to this tomorrow, I'll get to this tomorrow, then just think of you. Think of your family and the devastation that losing you would cost. This was something that really, really hurt. And my youngest brother was in college. No, he was in the Air Force at the time. He was devastated by it. It really, really hurt him and his motivation. And he kind of threw some opportunities away as a result. So don't let that happen to you or your family. All right. All right. So let's get started. Everything that we're going to learn tonight is education. So I want you to remember that. And in order to get the most out of this training, I want you to make sure that you pay attention. That's all. Pay attention. And I would love to hear in a show of hands or whatever comments in the chat, who has been to this before? Who was with us over the last few days? We did it twice last week, and then we did this big live stream. So post in here if you've been to this webinar before, if you've been to the live stream. I just want to get a sense of it. You know that I do things a little bit differently each time. And we also know that you usually learn about 10% of what you hear. So if you've been here before, play it again. Interesting. I am listening to a book, an audio book, and it's a pretty advanced audio book, The Missing Microbes, lots of deep science. And I listened to it the other day while I was running, and I came back in and it played the same chapter over again. And I learned like at least 5 new things. And the next time I hear it, I'll learn it again. So it doesn't hurt to just keep hearing things over and over again, hearing things again and again said a slightly different way. Now, for me in the book, it was said the exact same way, but I went, oh, wow, that's a good one. And he made note of this and that and the other thing. Of course, when I'm running, I can't take notes, but it's good. I play things over and over. So pay attention. Some of the stuff you're going to have heard, stay focused and keep your mind and heart open to not say, look, I heard this before. I know this already, because you tune out, your brain tunes out when you say that, and you may miss something that is super important and just exactly what you need to hear. I love when you take notes, just write down, because even if you don't go back and look at your notes, I know Lynn is on here. And when I first met Lynn, she'd been following me and coming to my webinars for years. And she joined our nutritional endocrinology practitioner training. And what I asked them quite a question. I said, oh, I think I talked about that in a webinar. She whipped out a notebook and she opened it up and she had all these beautiful notes with beautiful pictures. And she goes, oh yeah, that was in January. You talked about, and I was shocked. She goes, like, I've been taking notes. I've been taking notes because I got this. This is only one of 3 notebooks. This is the most recent out of 3 notebooks I have. And I was just floored, right? So learn. And then this is the most important one. Decide before we end tonight what you're going to take action on. One thing. What's the one thing you're going to take action on and take into your life? Maybe it's going to be to join us in our community and have me help you and me and my coaches help you through it. Maybe it's going to be a specific diet thing. Maybe it's going to be a specific exercise thing. But you've got to make a decision to do one thing. Will you promise me that? Let's see. I see. I don't know. I don't see. Yeah, Lynn, tell me if there's anybody that's, how many people, get a sense of how many people have been here before. We had a 7.5 hour or 6.5 hour live stream webinar the other day, and somebody wrote to me on Facebook and said, oh my God, I stayed the whole time. My butt was sore at the end, but it was important. And we had a whole lot of people that stayed to the end. Okay. So I always have to say this at the beginning of anything I do. What I say is not medical advice. It's all education, because I believe that what was that old commercial that used to be on? I'll date myself, is the educated consumer is our best customer. When you understand and you're educated and you know how your body works, you're more likely to take the steps, because you're thinking, oh, I don't want to do that because it's going to do this in my body. Or, yes, I want to do that because it's going to enhance my body. When you understand it better, you're more likely to take action. And like I said, you've got to hear it sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 times. So what are we going to teach you? Well, I want to really get through to you that, like in the case of my mom, she didn't have to leave us. Had the doctors known how to do early detection, had the doctors cared about doing early detection, had they been taught that this is an important thing to do. And I'm going to teach you how to do early detection, both things you can do at home and things that you can request from your doctor. I'm going to also share with you my favorite 5 strategies for eliminating belly fat, boosting your energy, and restoring your clarity. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be with deprivation. People say, oh, I don't think I can do this. It's too hard. I'm going to have to give up my favorite foods. I'm going to eat foods I don't like. It doesn't have to be. And we have some amazing recipes. And you don't even have to give up chocolate, which is, kind of one of a lot of people's favorites. And also, I want to teach you a 30-day process. Not that you're going to completely restore your health. It depends on where your health is, but it can restore your health in as little as 30 days. And I've seen it happen. And it can start the process of reversing some of the damage that's been done. So I really encourage you to stay to the end because I share a lot. And I'm going to still be sharing a lot at the end. And I have a special gift for you at the end, which is this lab testing chart, which is one that I use with my clients. I use it in my nutritional endocrinology practitioner training. I give them. It's a set of lab tests that you can do to assess for blood sugar imbalance that your doctor probably isn't going to order other than the fasting glucose, which is at the top. I want you to know about them, and I want you to know that, where you can go and get them tested. And that's all in that document you'll get at the end. So we talked earlier about those things of being Band-Aids, right? An anti-inflammatory medication is not really getting to the root of why the body's inflamed. A hypertension medication that just lowers your blood pressure, it's not getting to the root of why is it up in the first place, right? A statin, which is going to be lowering cholesterol, why is it high in the first place? And what other things naturally can you do? So the Band-Aids are great temporary solutions, right? And I don't mind you using Band-Aids as long as you're also working at the underlying cause. Because if you're in dire pain, it's hard to do anything. If you're like completely depressed and laying on the couch and can't get up, you might need an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication for a short time while you're going for the root cause. But the danger of the Band-Aids is that they are the symptoms are a warning sign, an early warning sign that something's wrong. And when you ignore that early warning sign, it's just as if you're taking the battery out of the smoke detector when it goes off in the middle of the night because it hurts your ears. You don't like it. We don't like when our joints hurt. We don't like when our stomach is irritated and burning. So we want to turn it off. But if you turn it off, you want to also be looking. If you turn it off, you also want to be looking at what's really going on. And I just realized I hadn't turned on my screen share. So I'm going to show you. Sorry, I always do this. I don't know why. Important ones. Okay. The tip of the iceberg are your symptoms. The depth is that damage that's going on below. That's my mom and dad. That was 3 weeks before my mom died. This was on St. Patrick's Day. She died actually on my birthday, 3 weeks later. She had no idea she was sick. She had no idea she was going to just die. The shock was it was just horrific. And she had no idea she was only 56 years old. My dad, 2 years later, he did the same thing. Sad. It was devastating for our family. That's my family, baby sister, Kathy, who died of lymphoma, mom and dad, and me in the corner. And if you are going to be on Facebook, go ahead and share this training with your friends. Just post out. They can come to sweetspotlifestyle.com and they'll get access. And the disclaimer, we went through these. This is the document I'm going to give you at the end, the lab testing document. Band-Aids, dangerous because it's like pulling the battery out of the smoke detector without looking to see if there's a fire. What happens? You go back to sleep. This could happen. The house burns down. And those symptoms are a sign of inflammation and imbalance in your body that can easily cause your whole house, your body, to burn down. And then suddenly you have cancer. Suddenly you have MS. Well, it wasn't so suddenly. Suddenly you have diabetes. It wasn't so suddenly. It was brewing for a really long time. So the root cause of your excess belly fat, brain fog, and fatigue is very likely to be a blood sugar imbalance. Now, this blood sugar, why is blood sugar important? Well, blood sugar is what maintains the energy supply to all your cells. Every single cell in your body needs sugar to be entering into the cell and then goes through a process in the mitochondria. And in that process, it creates something called ATP, and that's the fuel. And every cell needs it. So if your blood sugar is out of balance and the sugar is not being delivered to the cells, they can't make energy. And what happens to cells that don't have a lot of energy? Well, lung cells don't filter the blood real well. Heart cells don't pump the blood real well. Brain cells don't think real well. Digestive cells don't digest real well. You get the picture? So we want every cell to have that energy. And what should happen is after you eat, the blood sugar rises from the food. The pancreas secretes insulin. Insulin is a hormone and it escorts the glucose into the cells. And then you have an increased energy because the cells make ATP. You feel great. The glucose goes down. The pancreas stops secreting insulin. A hormone called leptin increases and fat burning is triggered in between meals. So you don't have to be eating constantly. Fat burning because we stored it earlier. And then you get hungry after a few hours and you eat again. And this is normal. This is what we're all targeting for. Unfortunately, the majority of the population does not have normal. They have abnormal. They have this blood sugar imbalance. And one of the blood sugar imbalances we'll talk about is insulin resistance. So when you eat and the blood sugar glucose rises and the pancreas secretes insulin, just like before. But because you've been bombarding them with insulin year after year as a result of stress, as a result of poor eating and lots of sugar in the diet, as a result of lack of sleep, the cells become resistant to the insulin and can't take it up. So the sugar stays in the blood and the blood glucose stays high and the pancreas then detects it instead and secretes more insulin. Then since it's still resistant, the cells are resistant. Finally, the glucose gets stored as fat and the excessive insulin is available to damage your blood vessels. What it does is thickens and damages the lining of the blood vessels. And then you get hungry again right after eating because the cells don't have energy. And then you eat again and you have cravings and you have to eat every few hours. So there's a dangerous myth that permeates throughout medicine, and it permeates throughout everybody's households, is that only diabetics need to be concerned about blood sugar. Only diabetics need to be concerned about the side effects, the complications of imbalanced blood sugar, like kidney damage and peripheral neuropathies, which can cause foot ulcers and cardiac problems, hypertension and retinal damage. Only the diabetics need to worry about that. And that is so wrong. And it is so dangerous because everybody needs to. There's a spectrum of blood sugar imbalance. Diabetes is at the far end, but there's signs of it happening 30 years or more before. And this happens as a result of the combination of genetics and lifestyle. And we're going to talk about those 5 lifestyle factors tonight. Hyperinsulinemia is when you're eating too much sugar or starch and your body produces too much of this hormone called insulin and it just keeps producing it. That's called hyperinsulinemia. And that can be measured, but it's not going to be caught when you go to the doctor and they measure just fasting glucose. What else? Well, there's pre-insulin resistant. That's a term I coined for when you're producing too much insulin and what's happening is your blood sugar is going high, but it's only staying up high for a short period of time. And by the time it gets back down to 2 hours, it's where it should be. Actually, honestly, it should be back down to where it was before you ate. So it's a high there, and that high is causing damage. And I'm going to show you some of that damage. The next would be a reactive hypoglycemia, where the insulin goes pretty high, and then it comes down too rapidly, and then somebody has really low blood sugar. I will warn you, though, a lot of people say I have low blood sugar, but they've never tested it to see if they do. A lot of people that think they have low blood sugar actually have high blood sugar at the time, but the sugar's staying in the blood and not getting into the cells, and you perceive that, that wobbliness and the irritability. Finally, we come into insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is measurable by a medical doctor or any doctor on your test when your fasting blood glucose goes above 100. Metabolic syndrome is when fasting blood glucose, again, above 100, but below 120. And you also have the problems with your heart, like elevated triglycerides and elevated cholesterol and high blood pressure, low HDLs, high LDLs, things like that. And finally, we get to diabetes. And you could say, wow, that's good. I have 30 years before diabetes goes. Yeah, but all the damage is happening that whole time. You may never get the diabetes. You may die of a heart attack beforehand. My mom's mom, my grandmother, had diabetes. She was diagnosed when she was in her mid-50s with type 2 diabetes. My mom never was. Now, had my mom lived long enough, would she have? Maybe. Yeah. But she wasn't, right? So it doesn't mean that just because you don't have diabetes or metabolic syndrome or insulin resistance that you should ignore a blood sugar imbalance. And I'm going to teach you how you can make sure that you don't get worse. So here's some of the early symptoms. We talked about some of them: the belly fat, the low energy, especially after meals. People who have insulin resistance or blood sugar imbalances will eat a meal and then they feel more hungry because the body's working at trying to put it into the cells and there's no energy coming from it. Hungry even after a full meal. Finish a meal and you just crave something sweet. Just have to have it. That mid-afternoon energy slump, I've known people that fall asleep literally at their desk. That difficulty focusing. A lot of these children that are put on Ritalin for ADD really have blood sugar imbalances because they've been fed refined processed foods from the time they're little, and it's showing up earlier and earlier and earlier. We're even starting to diagnose type 2 diabetes in children, whereas before you only diagnosed type 1, and it had to get worse and worse and worse to progress to diabetes until, our adulthood. And then that cranky and irritable if a meal's missed. If you have any of these symptoms, listen up because you need to take action. It's totally valid. So I want to just take one of those symptoms. We could spend hours and hours talking about all of them. We're going to take one. And I just want to show you that if you ignore it, you're setting yourself up for problems. There's dangers to excess belly fat. It's not just ugly. It's not just difficult to get your pants to fit anymore. It is not just a vanity thing. It's actually dangerous. The excess belly fat, it's adipose tissue around the waist, will actually produce a chemical called C-reactive protein, CRP, and that's a marker of inflammation, and it damages blood vessel linings. It can damage lung cells, it can damage the brain, it can damage lots of parts of the body. It's elevated in autoimmune diseases. But here's the thing. 1 4-inch increase in the waist size, so the middle increases by 4 inches, leads to a 15% increase in cardiovascular risk. So I urge you to look back and say, how much has your waist size grown since you were 20? What kind of increased risk are you at? It's pretty serious. What else? Dementia, that I have a hole in my brain and I can't figure it out. I can't get through it. The Drexel University did a study and they found that the people that had excess belly fat had double the risk of dementia. Double the risk of dementia. Because the belly fat is just a sign. It's just a tip of the iceberg sign of the underlying insulin resistance or pre-insulin resistance if it's not quite there yet. The dangers of excess belly fat also include damage to the cells in an oxidative stress manner. So oxidative stress causes the cells to reproduce in ways that are not comfortable or healthy, and we found that it contributes to cancer. Right? So the cancer risk increases with increased belly fat. And finally, some lung stuff. In studies in the Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, they found that there was an increase in lung inflammation in people who had more than their fair share of belly fat. So it's affecting all your major organs, guys. So if you have belly fat and you go, it's not that big a deal, I don't want to be so vain about it, I'll just deal with it, I'll buy a bigger pair of pants, know that it's a tip of the iceberg symptom. And this is why from the time you were probably 6 months old, you started this consumption of sugar and sugar-like products, meaning honey and maple syrup and Aunt Jemima pancake syrup, which I ate when I was a kiddo. We had Kool-Aid. We had M&Ms. We had orange juice. We had Tang. We had all those things. 22 teaspoons a day is what the average American eats, and I don't eat any. My family doesn't eat any, so somebody's getting our share too. 32 teaspoons a day for a child. My kids never had any. So, okay, what's going on with that? And this is the scary part, is that the American Heart Association is saying up to 9.5 teaspoons is just fine. Oh my God. It's enough sugar in a year to fill a dumpster. Is that scary or what? There was a movie called That Sugar Story or That Sugar Film where a guy actually went and said, okay, I'm going to do this. 32 it was in Australia where he lived. I'm going to do this and I'm going to just get this sugar in me. And he did it by getting all kinds of hidden sugars. So let's look at how do you know if this is a problem for you, and then let's look at what you can do about it. It's really important, I think, to understand what's going on here, why it's a risk, so you're motivated to take action and not just think of it as just mild, moderate symptoms. Okay, so medical testing, they typically will do something called the fasting glucose. You've all seen it if you've had any kind of medical lab work done. And the fasting glucose is a measure of how much sugar is in your system. The range, the ideal range that we as functional medicine doctors look at is somewhere, around 85, a little or less, 75 to 85, 65 to 85, depending on the person and the person's diet. And in medicine, it's like considered up to 100 is normal. We find that over 90 causes an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Over 100, you're now diagnosed officially as insulin resistant. Over 120, officially diabetic. But here's the thing. That's the only thing they measure typically. And that's the last thing to change. So you could be, at a problem area, one of those conditions before you get there for decades. All the damage is happening, and they're just looking at fasting glucose, which is one of the last things to change. What they could be looking at in everybody are things like hemoglobin A1C and fasting insulin. Hemoglobin A1C is a marker of how sugar-coated your red blood cells are. And here's the thing. When doctors measure it, they measure it only in diabetics. So once the fasting glucose goes above 120, they start to measure it. Some of them are more astute, and they measure it once it goes above 100 just to monitor. But the problem is the higher that hemoglobin A1C goes, the more damage there is to the body. So we don't want to wait till the hemoglobin A1C is high. The range is considered in medicine is considered anything over 5.6 is a problem and you're heading into insulin resistance. Over 7 is considered diabetic, right? So why are we waiting and testing people's hemoglobin A1Cs till they're over 7? Why don't we see if we can detect it early before the fasting glucose goes up? So if you've got any kind of family history, you've got these kind of diseases in your family, or you have some of these symptoms, I'd highly recommend you get a hemoglobin A1C. If your doctor won't run it, in the United States, there's a place called directlabs.com that you can get them done. Fasting insulin. Insulin's that hormone that the pancreas secretes, right? And it should only be elevated after you've eaten a meal. And then it should go back down to baseline within 2.5 to 3 hours after your meal. So if we take a fasting insulin and it's elevated, it means that you're in hyperinsulinemia, right? You're making too much insulin. What's the problem with that? Well, too much insulin damages cells, causes inflammation, thickens and hardens the blood vessel linings, causes high blood pressure. So we don't want to have too much insulin. So just checking your fasting insulin is going to tell you if you're in one of these early stages. Checking your insulin after you eat, which is what postprandial means, can give you even more information to see if it's going way too high. Fructosamine is how much sugar coating is on your amino acids, and it can be measured in a typical lab test. And then finally, the triglyceride HDL ratio. Most of you can probably get easy access to that because most doctors do the triglycerides and HDLs. So you can go back and you can look at their ratio. So say your triglycerides are 150 and your HDL is 30. That's a 5 ratio of 5, right? The triglycerides are 5 times the HDL. If the triglycerides are 75 and the HDL is 75, then that's a 1. That's considered ideal. So think about targeting for 75, 75. Now, if it's not elevated, it doesn't mean that you don't have a problem with blood sugar. It just means that it's not progressed that far. So it's something that if it is high, you know that there's a problem. If it's not high, you've got to look at a lot of other things. So these are the tests that you can do. I just wanted to show you real quick this chart, which you can find. You can't read it. It's too small, but you can find it by going online and sewing hemoglobin A1C and average glucose. In our Sweet Spot Solution program, we give people these charts. We give a little calculator, but the bottom line is that this hemoglobin A1C calculates to an average of what your estimated glucose is. So for example, if my blood sugar when I wake up in the morning is 85 and I keep it in a nice range throughout the day, like under 120, my average hemoglobin and my average blood glucose is going to probably be in the 90s. But if I have high spikes, I'm eating things that cause my blood sugar to go up to 140, 150, 180. And believe me, that happens. And you probably don't even know it if it's happening, because it happened to me. Then your hemoglobin A1C is going to be higher. So if your hemoglobin A1C is just above where they say is normal, that means your average blood glucose is 117. Personally, I think that we should never allow it to go above 110. And I'll show you some statistics as to why I came up with that. So it's a good chart to have if you have that number on your lab test. What I really want to talk to you about and emphasize is the stuff you can do at home. Your waist to hip ratio is a really good indicator. If your waist is greater than 35 inches, whether you're male or female, it's going to be a problem. So take out the tape measure, measure around your belly button and see, then measure around the widest part of your hips and see, and then do the ratio. You got to take out your calculator and do a little math. So say I'm going to just use easy numbers, right? Let's just say your waist is 30 and your hips are 40, right? That's a 3 to 4. That's a 75%, ratio. That's fine, 75%. But say your waist is 30 and your hips are 30, that's 100%. That's not good. Now in men, 100% is okay. Not best, but okay. In women, it's not acceptable. So your hips should be bigger than your waist if you're a female, and your waist should be no bigger than your hips if you're a male. And this is an early sign. Symptom survey, there's symptom surveys. I gave you 6 of the symptoms. There's a whole long list of them. I have an insulin resistance quiz that we'll send you out a link to maybe a couple of weeks that you can take and see. But we give it in our Sweet Spot program. We give people a very detailed symptom survey. The one I have online is just like 20 questions. The one in the program is much more in depth, because you can measure and see what symptoms you have, what percentage of the symptoms you have, and then you can do some things to change and see where it goes. And then home glucose monitoring is my favorite. I mean, my absolute favorite. I have a meter. I'll show it to you when I turn on my camera again. I'm afraid to turn it on for fear that I won't turn it off. And now I don't. Oh, there it is. I'll show it to you in a little bit. But it's a home glucose meter, and you can measure your blood sugar. You don't have to just measure it in the morning. You can see what food does to it. You can see what stress does to it. You can see what exercise does to it in a both positive and negative way. I think that everybody should be testing their their glucose, especially if you have any kind of family history of diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, dementia, or cancer, or autoimmune disease. All of those things. If you have that, then I would test your your glucose and see what foods are doing it to you, and get on a program, which I'll talk to you in a little bit, for getting that under control. Home glucose mapping. It's supposed to peak about 30 to 60 minutes after you eat. While the sugar goes up, the insulin goes up, and then the insulin brings it back down, and it should return to normal in about 2 hours. Okay. And when you measure, you get so much great information, because you get to see, oh, look, apples cause my blood sugar to go up. Wow, look at that. Cranberries don't. Cranberries keep it nice and low. Oh, lettuce keeps it nice and low. Avocados keep it nice and low. But, oh, wow, when I add a couple of raisins to my salad, it goes up. You get to learn how to do this. And this is a super important part. We teach this in our Sweet Spot program. When people start to do this, holy cow, do they get results. They start to see and are empowered to choose their foods. It's phenomenal. This is why I don't ever like your sugar to go up too high. Ideally, you keep it at 99 to 100 all the time. After eating, before eating, it's lower, because beta cell destruction. What's that? Well, pancreas has these cells called the beta cells, and those beta cells produce insulin. And the destruction of those begins at approximately 100. And if you're out of the country, out of the US, the number for that is 5.6. Peripheral nerve damage begins at 120, which is 6.7 millimoles. And I know that one of our coaches in our program is a medical doctor from England, and she said they don't look at it until it goes above 9 as being a problem, and that's way too high. And then retinal damage begins at around 140. So if your sugars are going up that way from foods that you're eating, and you don't take control of this now, you're going to have year after year after year after year of the damage to these cells. You don't want that. So what's the process for this? Now that you know how to assess, you find out that you've got to do something. You want to find what I call your sweet spot. What's your sweet spot? It's that spot of perfect balance where you're exercising just right and you're eating the foods that keep your blood sugar in that perfect balance, and you feel balanced. You have energy, you have focus, and you get to be at your optimal weight. That's what happens when you can find your sweet spot. As a result, you can be successful and make good connections and just like feel unstoppable. I love that word, to feel unstoppable. I can do what I want. I can do what I need to. I don't have to stop and rest my body and say, oh, I don't have enough energy for that, or I'm brain fogged. I can't do that. No, you're unstoppable. And that's what happens when you find your sweet spot. Well, how do you find your sweet spot? The keys to living in there is, guess what? Blood sugar balance. So let's get started on talking about the ways that you can bring your blood sugar under control. I have 5 strategies to get and stay in your sweet spot. The first one is balanced nutrition. Well, what the heck does that mean? What is balanced nutrition? Well, balanced nutrition is nutrition that gives you all the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and proteins and essential fats that your body needs for optimal repair and function. It's not the food pyramid that the government put out. That was the whole collusion with the food companies to emphasize their processed foods. This is a better version of a food pyramid with that water, which is critical hydration at the bottom, and the greens at the bottom, and the fruits and vegetables. And then as you get up with the fattier and heavier foods, you get the less and less, but they still have good benefits to you. So that's a healthier, balanced nutrition, the nutrition that supplies your cells. And you want to identify the foods that serve you best. There are certain foods that probably nobody should eat because they don't serve anybody. They raise your blood sugar, they're processed, they're full of chemicals, GMOs, pesticides, etc. But when you have a meter, you can identify the foods that serve you best, the foods that are keeping your blood sugar in that optimal balance. And I'm going to just quickly stop my screen share to measure your own blood sugar. This is mine, my favorite one. They don't make this one anymore. But in the sweet spot, those of you already in the program, you can get this beautiful chart that I put together where I went through, 10 days or so. Well, no, it was 5 days, but 10 different meters. And I kept measuring and measuring it to come up with what the best one was. And this is what it is. This is a really cool one because it's a little case. This is the strips, and it's a carry case for the strips. This is the little neoprene sleeve that holds the lancet. You poke a little hole in your finger. It doesn't hurt much. It's like a little pinprick. And then you basically stick this thing in. You put a drop of blood on there and boom, you get your reading. And it's so empowering. It is so empowering when you can do this. So I just thought I would show you what that looked like. Okay. All right, so I'll go back to my slides. Good whole foods that keep your body in the right balance doesn't have to be deprivation. These are some chocolate candies that I made from one of my recipes, low glycemic, sweetened with stevia or lohan, one or the other, and having good whole like hemp seeds and chia and other kinds of seeds and nuts that are full of nutrition. I always put green powders in there. I have a broccoli sprout powder. I have recipes for these that I would love to be able to share with you. Here's the thing though. When people start to add foods, it's one thing. When you start to take away your favorite foods that might be throwing your blood sugar off, you get cravings. There's a withdrawal that happens. So what I often usually do with people is I start them on what I call the craving crusher nutrients. These craving crusher nutrients are going to help you to maintain those cravings because they help the sugar get into the cells. Is it solving the problem? No. Is it solving the root cause? No. It's solving one of the manifestations of the root cause. The root cause is the diet lifestyle factors that are causing your sugars to go up. But this will help you to get the cravings under control. So after a couple of weeks, you're fine with, let me replace my whole grain bread with something like a flax or chia cracker, which is not going to raise your blood sugar. So those are the nutrients right there. So you may want to write those down. The top 3. Now there's plenty of others. And in our Sweet Spot program, which is our blood sugar balancing program, which, by the way, welcome if you just joined. We just had quite a number of new people join. I would say that we start with the 3, and then we give you lists and descriptions of each of the others, and we help you through coaching calls to figure out which ones you might need to add. But this is what we usually have people do for the first 2 weeks, and it's amazing how much better they are and how much easier following the program becomes after that. But there's mistakes that you can make here. So what to do is to eat well-balanced food, low glycemic, take the nutrients. The mistakes you can make is like, oh, this is a whole food. This is a healthy food. Carrot juice is a healthy food. Organic orange juice is a healthy food. But not if it's shooting your blood sugar up, right? It's devoid of the fiber and the sugar can get in quickly. So there's a lot of mistakes that people make. And I just wanted to point out that one. So let's look at strategy number 2, which is consistent movement. What the heck does consistent movement mean? Well, it means getting your body out there on a daily or almost daily basis. It doesn't mean you have to be training for a marathon or bench pressing 200 pounds. It means that you get out there and you move and do it in ways that are fun for you. Walk your dog, go jog around the park and watch the kids play. There's a lot of things that you can do. And you can do short bursts of training. You don't have to go out and do long bursts. Now, exercise is good to have some variety. So walking gives you good cardiovascular, running, jogging, swimming, bicycling. They're cardiovascular exercises and they're good. They don't have to be long duration. You can do 10 minutes of walking 3 times a day and get the same benefit as if you went out and jogged for 30 minutes. So don't feel like you have to do all this, but burst training is cool because you can do in just 4 minutes a day. You can really retrain yourself and really retrain your insulin receptors because these little bursts of exercises cause the growth hormone, which is a hormone that helps you burn fat and store lean. It helps it to stay up for 90 minutes, as much as 30 minutes of cardiovascular. So who can't make 4 minutes a day for exercise? And you don't have to do it contiguously. You can do 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. It's all out bursts of energy. It's like running up and down the stairs or doing some jumping jacks really fast or on the Stairmaster for 30 seconds, but 30 seconds at a time. Amazing, amazing results with that. And make it be enjoyable. And keep doing it. No matter what your age, you can be doing exercise that you love. This lady is 92 years old and she's still doing competitive gymnastics. She loves it. She's been doing it for a long time. I mean, you could clearly see her face has that look of being in their 90s. But look at her body. Look at her legs. Look at that strength. Can you do that? You could if you worked at it. You could if you worked at it. And finally, I want to talk about a mistake that a lot of people make is they overexercise. Yes, you heard me right. They overexercise for the state of where their body's at. They sign up for a marathon when their adrenals are exhausted. They sign up for a triathlon and they push themselves really hard and they keep going even though they collapse on the couch every day after they work out. Do not overexercise. It's just as bad as if you underexercise. When you exercise, you train your muscles to be much more sensitive to glucose. That's the biggest advantage here. When you overdo on the exercise, your body can't handle it. It's too much. It causes a stress response in the body, which causes your body to release cortisol. And the cortisol then raises your blood sugar. So I'm going to give you a little trick. Usually I just tell this to people in my program, but I want to make sure you know this. If you do start measuring your blood sugar, and your sugar goes up after you exercise, you're probably over-exercising because it's causing the release of cortisol. If it goes down, you're doing what your body should be doing, which is burning the sugar that's already in your blood. Now, if it starts out super low, you're going to go and find some stores. But if you start out in a normal range, you should go down a little bit. So let's look at strategy number 3 to get and stay in your sweet spot. Stress, low stress. Well, what is that? Like, we all have stress, right? You can't change them. You can only change you. You can't change the things out there. You can change how your body responds to it and how your mind responds to it. All right. So what you need is techniques to help you and to help you get you under control, to get your stress under control. When you get under stress, your body produces cortisol. It goes into what's called the sympathetic dominance of the nervous system. And the valves in your digestive tract shut down. The blood sugar goes up and all the blood gets shunted to your extremities away from your brain. So you can't even think straight. And it damages your hippocampus, which is your memory center. So you want to be able to shift out of that because you don't want your blood sugar to be going high because you're stressed. I call it the candy bar eating effect of stress. It goes high like a candy bar, but you don't get the pleasure of the candy bar. So we got to change out there. How do we do that? There's a lot of techniques that you can use to do that. And I'll talk about a couple of those in a minute, but I do want to mention, why is it important? We said because of the stress changing the blood sugar, but also there's a hormone called DHEA, and it's really important to get balance. When the cortisol goes up, DHEA goes down. And that's the anti-aging hormone. So let's keep our stress under control. And how do we do it? My favorite technique is heart math, where we combine deep breathing and appreciation. You may like tapping. You may like meditation. There's any number of stress management techniques, but find one. The beauty of heart math is that you can do it in 30-second to 2-minute bursts, just like the exercise. So you can just stop. You feel yourself getting stressed out, you just stop. I like to put my hand over my heart, my other hand over my belly, and take long, slow, deep breaths. Let your shoulders drop. And then as you're breathing, think about something you really appreciate. Person, place, activity, past event. And then have some appreciation for it. Feel the appreciation for that experience in your life. You're going to feel the stress melt out of your body. That puts you into parasympathetic dominance. Parasympathetic is where healing happens, digestion happens, sex drive goes up, all sorts of great things. And then we're going to look at sleep. This was my downfall. This was the area where in my story, I got healthy about, when I was in my 20s, so let's just say, I don't remember the exact number of years, started eating really well, whole foods, plant-based diet, exercise, doing my stress management every day. And when I went to test my blood sugar, I found out that after eating pineapple, my sugar went up to 167. And if you remember where the danger signs were, right? 100, 120, 140, mine went over 160 from pineapple, good, healthy food. And I was like, holy cow. I've got this problem. I've got this pre-insulin resistance problem because it was fine fasting. It was fine a couple hours later, but I have this pre-insulin resistance problem. And I realized, wait, my mom and dad died suddenly. They didn't know that they had this issue. And even though I'm healthy and I'm much healthier than they are, lots of energy, that blood sugar issue could be eating away at my blood vessel linings, at my cells. So I said, I have to look at this, but why? So I was working on these 5 areas. My nutrition was balanced. My movement was great. I was doing my stress management every day. But my sleep was not so good because I felt so good and so energetic that I wasn't going to bed and I was getting 2, 3, 4 hours of sleep every night. And that threw off my insulin. And I looked it up and sure enough, even one night of bad sleep can cause insulin resistance. So let's look at sleep. We all love to sleep. Most of us, if we can fall asleep, it feels good. It feels restful. You go to bed tired. You wake up energized. Nice. So why is it important in the blood sugar balance? Well, the studies show that even one night of bad sleep can cause insulin resistance in a healthy person. So if you're not sleeping, your blood sugar is going to be higher. And I discovered as I started working on this that if I were to go to sleep on a regular basis, then I could eat the foods that had been raising my sugar. And I learned various ways to do it with nutrition as well. So it's super, super important. In addition, it's good for focus. It's good for memory. I mean, there's so many studies related to cardiovascular health. So what do you do to get a good night's sleep? Well, there's a bunch of stuff, and we have this little booklet called Burn Belly Fat While You Sleep, and you get this in the program. But it's basically there's some herbs and there's some nutrients and there's specific sleep hygiene. I'm going to give you one, which is going to be hard for all of you, but I want to give you something to take away. Stop using electronics and watching TV minimally an hour, preferably 2 or 3 before you go to bed. Because it's that electromagnetic, that blue light that gets into your head that tells the pineal gland that it's still daytime and it won't produce melatonin, which is required for deep sleep. There's a bunch of herbs and stuff in that book as well. What do people do wrong with it? Yeah, they go to bed and they put the TV on and they watch TV in bed because that helps them fall asleep. They come home from work and they will have the lights on bright. What about if you dimmed the lights? That would help the melatonin to get produced. So there's a whole lot more. We have a whole lot more than that in our sleep module in our Sweet Spot program. Those of you who don't know what our Sweet Spot program is, I'll take a couple of minutes to tell you at the end, but it's a program for getting this in balance. And many of you who've been to some of the previous webinars have already joined. Optimal health, timing and rhythms. What does that mean? Well, what you eat is as important. When you eat is as important as what you eat. So what does that mean? Well, we really want to be able to time our meals for optimal blood sugar balance. If you eat too close to bedtime within 3 hours, you're going to cause a rise in insulin, which causes a drop in growth hormone, which makes you not fall asleep so well. And it makes you not burn fat while you sleep. If you get up in the morning and you eat breakfast and then 2 hours later you eat a snack and then 2 hours later you eat lunch and 2 hours later you eat another snack and then you have dinner and then you have another snack. Whoa, it's too much food. In addition to being a hardship on your digestive tract, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard on your glucose because insulin's elevated the whole time. Insulin doesn't let you burn fat. Insulin is a fat storage hormone. So here's what I tell people. If you want to eat every 2 hours, like some of the books are saying, go for it. If you want to gain weight. If you don't have weight you want to gain and you want to stop storing fat, then don't do it that way, right? So here's some of the optimal timing and rhythm things and why it's so important. Why is it so important? Well, it increases your fat burning. It enhances your blood sugar. It optimizes hormone balance, that balance between leptin and ghrelin and insulin and growth hormone. It decreases your cravings. If you're eating carbohydrates early in the morning, you're going to crave carbohydrates all day. And then gives you steady energy and focus. So my basic rules would be 12 hours between dinner and breakfast, 3 hours between your dinner and your bedtime, and then space your meals 4 to 6 hours. You may not be there, but that's what to work towards. The myths are small, frequent meals are important. No, small, frequent meals are good for increasing your insulin and all the damage we talked about. Eating after exercise, it just the same thing. It drops your it drops your growth hormone and increases your insulin, which isn't going to help you with all the great benefits of exercise. Eating at bedtime, which I talked about already. And then the myth is that fasting decreases metabolism. And it's not further from the truth. Lots of studies done on intermittent fasting and longer-term fasting. Yes, long-term fasting can definitely decrease the metabolism. That's preservation stand from your body, but it's 2-day fast, 1-day fast, 12-hour fast actually increase your metabolism. They've done studies with athletes and shown that. And I have a whole paper on that in Sweet Spot. So now you know the 5 elements of that. I'll review them real quickly. We have balanced nutrition, consistent exercise, we have low stress, we have restful sleep, and we have optimal meal timing or optimal timing and rhythms. And I've given you 1 or 2 or 3 steps in each of those areas. So hopefully you wrote those down. But now what do you do to put it all together? Well, what I like to look at is what's called a metabolic reset. I take people through a 30-day metabolic reset to heal those insulin receptors that are damaged and resensitize them. And you can do so much in 30 days. Before the 30 days, I get people prepped. And we do the assessments and do the testing, but the 30-day metabolic reset can turn things around. So the steps I like to take people through is, and this may seem kind of wacky, but this is my first step, determine your big why. What's your dream? Because if you're not connected to why you want to do this, why you want to lose weight, why you want your energy back, why you want your brain fog to go away, then it's not going to drive you to do the things that you need to do. This isn't easy, quote unquote. There's work to do. And if you're willing to do the work, you can get phenomenal results. But if you're not willing to do the work, I don't have anything I can help you with, right? You have to take the steps, and I'll be with you every step of the way. The other thing you need is knowledge. I've shared a lot of knowledge tonight. I've only shared the tip of the iceberg as it goes. And there's a lot more for you to know. So you know how to prepare certain foods. You know how to test yourself in detail. You know how this actually affects you and how and why things are important, like the sleep and the stress and all. How do you get that under control? You need the knowledge, and you also need support and accountability. So I like to work with people in groups where we can support each other and provide as much individualization as possible. And you need resources and tools. The diet that got you here isn't going to get you away from here. The exercise program or lack thereof that got you here isn't going to take you away. So resources and tools like recipe guides and menu plans and shopping lists and videos to show you how to make food and videos to show you how to exercise and all sorts of resources and tools. You need that, because if you try to do this in a vacuum and you try to do this without having any kinds of resources, you're going to be floundering. So that's why we created the Sweet Spot Solution. And I would love the opportunity to guide you through this process. I've seen miracles happen when people go through this process. I have seen people drop 9 inches on their waist in 30 days. I have seen people go from exhausted and fatigued to running a triathlon within a year. I have seen people reverse Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition. I've seen so many miracles. I've seen diabetics go off their medications with the supervision of their doctor and normalize their blood sugar. I've seen it all. And that's why I want to help you with it. Because when you try to do it on your own, you don't necessarily follow through. And that's it. A lot of people don't necessarily follow through. So what I'm going to offer you is a system you can do at home in the privacy of your own home, in your pajamas. We're going to give you do-it-yourself assessments, home glucose monitoring, lab test ordering, and interpretation guidance. And if you were to go and take your labs to a more functional doctor for interpretation, you would pay more probably for one visit than you're going to pay for the cost of this entire program. And it's just phenomenal what you can get. And then training and education, tools, supporting the healthy diet, professional guidance, and all the support and accountability. I can't say enough about that. It's hard when you're out in that real world and people have no clue what it means to eat whole foods and to go off sugar. And it's just all that stuff's around you. And if you don't have the support, it's really could be difficult. So I want to just share with you some of the fun parts about the program that we're going to do. Delicious customized meals that refuel your energy, 30-second exercises that burn fat, 2-minute stress release breaks that skyrocket your energy and memory, sound sleep to enhance fat burning and restore fat. We'll teach you how to get that, and then timing tricks to accelerate your results. So there's a lot of options. Inaction is not a good choice. So I would like you to make a decision based on some of the options that I'm offering you tonight to get the help you need to get this in place. Not next month, not next year, but right now, right this minute. The first option, like I said, is not a good option. Just do nothing and hope for the best. It's kind of like my mother did, but she didn't even know there was a problem. It was like that head in the sand, not knowing there's a problem, and it didn't come out best for her. You can read a book. There's plenty of them. When I first started doing this, there were hardly any. Now there's a ton of books. But you're going to get a lot of information that's a little inconsistent, a lot of similar information, and you're going to be like, whose program should I follow? What should I do? You could pick just one book and follow it, yes, but my experience is that most people don't actually follow. How many books do you have on your shelf that you haven't even opened that looked good at the time? So that's a good option. If you're a self-starter, if you have the time, if you can honestly say that you can pick up a book and lay out the program for yourself, awesome. You can go to a functional medicine doctor or a naturopath. Great option fantastic option to get the help you need. However, it's going to cost you minimum $500 for a first visit. Then it'll cost you another, usually $500 for lab testing. And then every time you go in, it's going to be $300 to $500. So it could be costly. It could add up. You can attend a healing retreat center, which I think is a great idea if you have the funds and you have the time. Big time commitment and funds commitment. Most of these places are going to be a 5-figure investment, you know, 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 or more, depending on how long you go for. And they are time consuming. You got to be there for 3 weeks sometimes, usually 3 weeks or more. You can get great results, but do you have the time? Do you have the money? I went back to see how much it cost me. I went to a retreat for 28 days and did a fast back when I was in my 20s. And I stayed there for like 35 days because you have to stay to refeed afterwards. And here's the thing. I looked back the other day. I remember it was like $70 a day. So that was like $2,200 just there, maybe a little bit more, for the fees, the fee to be there. And then I had to take 6 weeks off of work to do this. And that was another $6,000. So my fast cost me about $8,000. I was able to do it at the time. Can you? If you can, great. But get support when you get back, because it's super important that you continue to stay on the program. So those are your choices. And I urge you to make one choice today. The other choice is to join the Sweet Spot. And when you join our Sweet Spot program, you'll get what you need to get the extra energy, to burn the fat, reduce your risk, become healthier and happier, and be one of thousands of healthy people who have already found their sweet spot. When you find your sweet spot, everything gets better. Everything gets better. So you've got do nothing. You've got read a book. You've got go to a naturopath, or go to a retreat center, or go join the Sweet Spot. Of those options, I think that the Sweet Spot is the best in terms of the most well-rounded. It's certainly not the least expensive. Buying a book and doing nothing are less expensive than that. However, it is by far the most support that you're going to get for the investment that we're offering it for. This was one of our clients back. Wow. She came in 2012. She wanted to slim her waist and get strong and be fit. And in the first picture is when she was in her 30s, and that's her little daughter there, and her daughter's now in her 20s, so that's how I know. The next one was when she was in her 50s after completing the Sweet Spot the very first time. And her daughter said, "Mom, let's go enter a contest, a fitness contest." And she said, "What?" She did it for her daughter, and she won a prize. So it's pretty phenomenal that you can do that and be in your 50s, right? She also does pole dancing. She teaches yoga. And she's built a health coaching career as a result of getting her brain back. So I want to know, is it for you? If you're overwhelmed, if you feel like you've tried everything and you just tend to go off track when nobody's watching you, you know you need something to do, but you don't know where to start. You feel isolated and you're tired of being unfocused, and you love your family and want to be there for them, then this can be for you. This was Alan, and Alan joined us in early 2017, and he was very overweight. He was on a medication for his thyroid, and he joined the program, and he dropped weight really, really quickly, got his energy back. And the cool part was he went back to his doctor, and the doctor took him off his thyroid medication, said, "You don't need thyroid medication anymore." And there he is. So he's lost a lot. He still has a few more that he wants to get rid of, but amazing difference in how he looks and feels. And there's our community. We have a lot of great support. We have coaches from our nutritional endocrinology training program. We're going to give you journals that you fill out, and one of the coaches is going to get back to you and answer your questions. So it's a great support, and I'll share with you what the support is in a moment. This is Beatrice. She came to us at 119 blood sugar and 110 pounds overweight, and she shed the weight pretty quickly. And within 3 or 4 months, went back to the doctor, and they took her off all her thyroid medication, said she didn't have Hashimoto's, even though she had been diagnosed since she was 14 and was on medication for 50 years. She was in her mid-60s. She's now 71. So how does it work? We're going to train you. We're going to teach you what you need to know to put this stuff into action. we are going to give you these 30-day stress transformation audios. That is amazing. Because every day you're going to get taken through one of those stress transformation processes. 30-day menu planner, 250 recipes in the collection, metabolic reset, checklists, assessments, and tracking tools, fitness guidelines and videos, belly fat busting food prep, and a year of access to the entire site. Plus, we're going to give you as a bonus 4 months of access to something that we have, which is my live office hour support call once a month. I get on the phone, and anybody that has questions, needs support, wants to review anything, get on and do it with me. You're going to get 4 months of access to that. You're also going to get, let's see, the personal support and encouragement from my coaching team. Well, how does that work? Well, number one, you get journals at the end of every module. You get to fill those journals out. You fill them in and you send them in, and one of the people on my team is going to get back to you. The next way that you get our support is through the interactive community. We have the coaches who have been trained by me in insulin resistance management and nutrition. They're going to be on there and answering your questions and supporting you. And the whole community supports each other. I am just touched beyond belief with how they do that. There's another bonus, which is that food prep stuff. I made a whole bunch of new videos last year, me in my kitchen having fun with food. You might be wondering, how much does it cost? What's the investment? For the entire collection, all of the program modules, the bonuses in the coaching, and more, the total value, $3,500, but we priced it at just $19.97. And then we looked at it and said, how many people are not going to be able to do it at $19.97? How can we make this affordable for more people? So we cut it down to $9.97. That's what it will run if you go to my website any day of the year, except for today. Because you're here, we're reducing it in half, and you get to join us for the sweet spot solution. Everything you just saw for just $4.97. So it's a bargain. It's a steal. People have told me that all the time. Holy cow, you give so much. I give so much because I care and I want you well. That's where you go. StartSweetSpot.com. StartSweetSpot.com. The other thing I'm going to do, because we are going to do this live, this program is usually available all year long at $9.97. But we're not doing live support calls with it. We have the monthly office hours calls. But what we're doing now is we're going to have a kickoff call next week on Tuesday, on the 27th. And then we have calls spread out across the next month and a half so that you're regularly supported. We've set it up that between the office hours calls and these calls, that there's pretty much a call every week. Sometimes there might be 1 week where we go a week and a half, just to give you the accountability and the support you need. So you get those 6 live coaching calls, and that's just up until we close the registration, which will be in 2 days on Wednesday. Because then we have to close it and the team has to get ready and make sure everything is set. So the investment, again, $4.97 for you now. Go to StartSweetSpot.com. What's included is all the modules, the 30-day stress transformation audios, 30-day menu planner, recipe collection, metabolic reset checklists and tools, fitness videos, food videos, and a year of access to the site. These are our modules, just in case you're interested. You know, we went through the 5 strategies. Well, each of those strategies is a module. Module 1 is actually our foundations, where we teach you how to do the assessments in detail. We give you access to the glucose meter form. We give you a set of lifestyle jumpstarts, which is basically 1 or 2 or 3 items in each of these areas that you can get started with right away. We give you a shopping guide. We give you the menu plan. You get everything that you need to get started. Then there's a module for each of the fitness, the optimizing nutrition, melt away stress, power of sleep, and timing is everything. And then the last module is what we call the metabolic reset. And you can go through that reset. You can trigger to have those messages start whenever you want them to start. And every day you'll get a little nugget from me to help guide you through. So that's that. And the Metabolic Reset has the charts and here's what you hang on your refrigerator. Here's what you do for 30 days. And the results are amazing. All right. There's the bonuses, value $597. The group coaching calls valued at $300, 6 of them, $50 each. And the total of that is like $895 plus the program itself. The value is way up there. So people ask me this, like they're skeptical. Will it work for you? Will it work for me? I'm going to tell you some reasons that it won't work for you, and you can rule yourself out. It's not for everybody. If you are scared of computers, don't know how to log in, don't want to have to log in, want everything sent to you in print form, or prefer live interaction, this is not the program for you, because we've made it so that it's easy for everybody to get access any time of day or night. It is a lot of online. Doesn't mean you have to sit at the computer all day, every day. No, you can download all of our materials to your own computer, which we highly recommend. Why else might not it work for you? If you're looking for a quick fix, this isn't the program for you. If you're looking for what's the special herb or the special food that I can eat that's going to change things, I don't have that for you. What I have is a program that works if you work it. If you work it and you do what's needed, and sometimes you may have trouble with we're asking you to do, but we've given you support tools. So for example, as we start to switch diet and search to identify your trigger foods and pull those out, you're going to get into either emotional eating or cravings if it's difficult for you. And what we provide is a whole section on emotional eating and help you to create your own emotional eating strategy. Now, we're also throwing in an extra bonus, and you will get this if you sign up before the end of the call. We are setting up basically a session where we're going to have experts in to help you with emotional eating and cravings and managing cravings. So that will be available to you if you get registered before the end of today's call. And that will be a live interactive Zoom call, either Zoom or some other platform, but a live interactive call where you get to be on and get some strategies and then ask questions. So I'm super excited about that. This is the first time we've offered that as a bonus, and it will be phenomenal. So those are the main reasons. You have to be willing to work. You have to be willing to try stuff. It will work if you work it. Okay? And again, the investment, it was not what, $19.97 down to $9.97, and now it's $4.97. Just during this launch period, ends on the 31st, not the 31st, midnight on the 21st, right? 21st, yes. So Wednesday at midnight is when all of this goes away and the price goes back up to $9.97. So, and the live call bonuses go away. You will get the whole program if you do it that way, but not this special stuff. And then if you do register before we get off the call today, we'll make sure that you get an invitation to come to our emotional eating and craving seminar. You can go to startsweetspot.com. I think my team might have put up they didn't. Might have put up the, oops, I looked at the wrong place. I looked at video. Yep, it's there. So you should be able to just click the button, click here to register. Okay. So that's what I have for you. I also have this to thank you for staying to the end. I really appreciate that. And if you go to drritamarie.com/go/insulin resistance lab tests, drritamarie.com/go/insulin resistance lab tests, go there and, you'll download this beautiful document, and you can go to, places like Direct Labs or Any Lab Now or My Lab Tests. There's a number of them that you can go to and order tests. You don't have to get these tests, by the way, to do our program. This is just, if you're going through the program and we're taking you through, it's less important that you get these tests. What I like to get the tests for is a baseline and then compare later. What I like to get these for is that every person who's not doing our program and is not on this webinar, the average person gets these tests done, because the doctors are missing a tremendous number of people who have early insulin resistance, who have pre-insulin resistance, and who are time bombs, ticking time bombs. and that's you. Some people have asked me, when will you offer this program again? And when I hear that question, I kind of cringe. So here's what I want to say to that. What better time is now? If you've got some of these symptoms, they're the tip of the iceberg. You may not be able to wait. We don't know what's going on inside. My mom didn't know that on that day, my birthday, by the way, my 35th birthday, that she wasn't going to live to the next day. She didn't know. Don't put things off that are important because of whatever. It's not convenient. This program is very convenient to do. It's online. You get access to it 24/7. You get access to the Facebook group. You get access to support. You get access to 10 live coaching support calls with me. And now's the time to do it. If you have to miss some of those calls, so be it. Nobody makes all of them. It's just life, right? Everything's recorded. Everything's recorded. We have transcripts of all of our modules. So you can watch the video. You can download the audio. You can download the video as well. Put it on an iPad. Watch it at your convenience. You can listen to it. So a lot of people tell me they pop it onto their phones and they listen while they exercise. And you can read the transcript. And I recommend you do all of those learning styles because the more modes you use to learn, the better it's going to be. So that's it, guys. I'm so happy that you were here. Oh, I was going to share this. I threw this at the end. So if you're dealing with, you get your blood sugar meter and you find that you're out of balance and your sugar goes up, these are some things I teach. Mini vacations, which is the heart math, that can drop it dramatically, drop your sugar dramatically within 15 minutes. It also drops blood pressure. The 30-second burst exercises, just do 30 seconds running up and down the stairs, the jumping jacks or whatever you do. Green drinks can do it. So not a green drink that has a ton of fruit in it or any fruit in it. A super green drink like with avocado in it because avocado is super helpful. A chia drink where you soak chia seeds. If you don't know what these are, you will learn it when you're in the program, and we have recipes for all of these. Coconut has MCTs in it, which help the body to create ketones so you can start burning fat. Avocado has chemical in it that helps with restoring and repairing insulin receptors. But some people, not everybody, can take a quarter to a half an avocado and have their blood sugar go down for them. And water, quite frankly, is super important. So there it is. $4.97 is today. And I would love to see you on the other side. For those of you already in, thank you. I look forward to it. I've already gotten to chatter a little bit with a couple of you on Facebook, and I look forward to more. I like to get to know everybody in the program. So if you participate, I'll get to know you. You come to the calls and you come regularly. We're going to have a friendship and a not a doctor-patient relationship, a mentor relationship where I can help you and I can guide you and I can guide you to get your doctors to be on board and help you if you need any additional testing or medication doses lowering if you're on metformin or insulin or anything like that. So I encourage you to just go out to startsweetspot.com. What we're going to do here is open it up for questions. I saw some that were marked already. I'll go back through. I'm going to take a sip of water and turn off my slides for a moment. In a moment. All right. Turn me back on. Go back to my chat. And I have a document that had some, let me open it up. There we go. That's an old one. That's not the one. Whoops. Okay, so Kelsey, I think I clicked on a link and it looks like it was last time's questions. I'm going to try this. Encore 3. Okay. I must have accidentally closed it. Let me get rid of the other one. I thought I was closing the other one. All right, here we go. We have a bunch of questions. I'm going to go through the questions that my team has put in here, and I'm going to look at the chat to see if there's anything further. Janine said, couldn't see the self-testing. It was below the camera view. I don't know what that means. It wasn't below the camera view, but I can put up that slide if you want to while I'm going through this and you can look at it. Let's see. There we go. And there. Go to slide. Okay. Okay, let me go backwards from here. Yeah, there we go. Now I can see them. I was trying to see them. The testing was here. There's the home testing. Where did it go? Huh, that's weird. Oh, I have to go back to from current slide. There we go. There you go. So I'll go back to the sheets. Hopefully you can read that and jot it down. Oh, the glucose meter. Oh. Okay, got it. All right, that's the testing. Now I understand. I thought I was holding it up, but I guess I was not looking at myself. I was just holding it. All right, let me go there. This one's called the True to Go. If you can find one, get one. But the strips that are out there are only going to be good till April 19, and then you'll have to get a new one. So that's what it looks like. It's a little thing like that. And in the program, we have a document that has a really pretty spreadsheet, has pictures of everything, links, and my impressions of all of them, has how well they worked. And you basically, use the little lancet to prick your finger, and then you stick it. Yeah, so let me see. Oh, there we go. I put it in the little neoprene case, and the numbers will show up there when you put your thing in. You won't be able to see it because there's a glare, and I don't think you'll see it. But you basically stick the strip in there. You put a little drop of blood on it, and it's really simple, really quick, and pretty darn painless. Okay, let's see. We have Elizabeth. What do I think about bulletproof coffee and MCT oil? I'd rather not say. Let's just say. I think MCT oil can be helpful. I think that the bulletproof coffee phenomenon is, it drives me nuts. Yes, if you're going to drink coffee, go ahead and have a high quality coffee. But for people who have been off coffee, they suddenly start drinking coffee because they think it's a health food and they feel better on it. Well, it's a stimulant. And I've watched people on Bulletproof, they get addicted to it, just like they do to regular coffee. MCT oil can be helpful. How about if you had some Tulsi tea with a little MCT oil in it? That could be good too. How do you find a quality omega-3 supplement? There are several. If you're looking for something that's fish-derived omega-3, Nordic Naturals has, you want to look for something that has third-party testing. You can get algae-based as well, and I do something. There's one called Diva. There's one from Nordic Naturals. So yeah. Happy. I've been sugar and grain free for a month, but I still have belly fat and can't get rid of. Well, remember there's 5 lifestyle areas, 5 strategies. So if you've just been sugar and grain free, but you haven't been testing your sugar, it still can be going up from fruit. Remember, mine went up from pineapple. So you really want to test, chart, and do all 5 strategies. Diana, having difficulty with long range goals. I'm so low right now. I can only set a goal to try to feel better tomorrow than today. Have a long way to go to see me in 1 year, let alone 5. You don't need a long range goal. The goal you need is that I want to feel my best every single day. And if you start each day as my goal is to feel my best every single day, what do I need to do today? Is it chocolate cake or a green avocado smoothie, right? Every single day, if you make that decision, my goal is to do the very best I can for my health to feel better today. You're going to make the right choices. And that's what I wanted to get across with the goals. You don't have to have a 5-year goal. Terry Ann from New York. I watched most of Saturday, watched what I missed on Sunday morning. Thanks for the link. How long will this be? Tonight, we're almost done here. So, but that link will be up till midnight if you want to watch the rest of the live stream. Andra from New York City. How do you My question to you, how can I stay healthy and live a long life? We just spent an hour and a half talking about it. Keep your blood sugar steady. Take care of yourself. Do all the 5 strategies we talked about. We talked about hemoglobin A1C. What labs monitor this? It's called hemoglobin A1C, Sandy. Question, where is prediabetes? Prediabetes is actually insulin resistant. So they'll tell you, doctors will tell you have prediabetes when your blood sugar fasting is between 100 and 119. That's called insulin resistance. It's prediabetes. I like to go a step beyond that, is pre-insulin resistance. So the question was from Miros are the recipes flour and sugar or sweetness free? They're flour, sugar, and all sweets. Anything that has a glycemic index above 0, basically, it is free. So there's no flour in any of ours. There's no sugar. What we'll use is whole fresh foods, and we use Lohan or stevia as sweeteners. What is oxidative stress? Oxidative stress it's an issue where there's tissue damage. Well, there's free radicals that get produced. Free radicals are like these random oxygen species. They have electrons floating around. They try to get stable, and they cause damage to the tissues by trying to get the molecule stable. And oxidative damage can be caused by heating omega-3 fats, heating any kind of fats, and causing oxidative byproducts, oxidized fats. Ella, is it true that working or living in a moldy environment can affect blood sugar despite a diet that keeps the blood sugar? Yes, environment is super, super important. We address this in the program. Absolutely clean environment, low toxicity, but any kind of toxic stress, that's a stress on the body. Absolutely, and it can raise your blood sugar. Gloriana, Annapolis, Maryland. Why does Kaiser Permanente say diabetes can't be reversed even when A1C went from 6.8 to 5.3? Glucose went from 122 now at 185. But Kaiser says I'm diabetic, never on meds. It's a craziness in our system. They've been taught that it doesn't reverse. You reversed it. They don't know how to reverse it. They just know how to put you on medication. Good for you, Gloriana. Yay. Question, is fasting or intermittent fasting something we can do? Yes, absolutely. We have a whole, in the timing module, we have a really nice document on intermittent fasting. And I don't recommend doing long-term fasting without supervision. I've had people I've guided through, but we've kept in touch every single day. That's not something I can do in the scope of this program. But yes, short-term fasting, 1, 2, 3 days, even up to 5 can be fine. But you have to, I would check with your doctor if you're on any medication. If you're on medication, for sure, you have to be constantly monitored by a doctor from that, because it can drop quickly, your needs. Carol from Vancouver, have you had much success using diet to treat psoriatic arthritis? Yes, actually, one of my very first patients when I first graduated and was in practice had psoriatic arthritis, and we had her healed within like 2-3 months. We did detox, we cleansed her diet, she lost weight, we got her blood sugar in balance. What's the best time? Well, it's not an easy answer, because we want to test before a meal. You want to test after a meal. You want to catch that curve. Remember I said the curve is about 30 to 60 minutes. It peaks. So there's a chart that we give you in the program that lays it out, and you get to fill it in. Which brand of supplements? Lots of good brands, lots of quality brands. Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Designs for Health. There's a number of good brands. You want the ones that don't have additives, preservatives, and excipients. Kimberly, I'm doing intermittent fasting from supper till noon. Great. So I'm wondering if this is okay. Yeah, absolutely. I can't prick my finger. I do massage for lean. Honey, I do hands-on body wear. I used to. I don't do much anymore. I've always done that. You really can. It's really not. You get used to it within a few days. Absolutely. But yeah, intermittent fasting is great. From supper till noon. Beautiful. How do you wake up fresh? I sleep 6.5 hours. I'm not sure what that means, Laura. So Linda says, why do they always say skip breakfast with intermittent fasting? I prefer to eat a large breakfast and not have a full belly going to bed. Personally, they don't say that. It depends on who you're reading. But my opinion in intermittent fasting, you'll see in my document in the program, is that when you do intermittent fasting, you can choose. You can choose to have lunch and then, skip dinner and breakfast. You can choose to do breakfast and then skip the rest of the day. I mean, there's so many ways to do intermittent fasting. There's no one way to do it. You have to find what works for you. Here's the thing. Everybody's different. Everybody's a little bit different. Miro says, I want to be keto adapted. Can I be in ketosis following this plan? Actually, if you follow this plan correctly and you keep your numbers in the range, you're going to be in a mild state of nutritional ketosis. Will you be in like therapeutic ketosis, like you would put somebody who is has MS or seizures? No, because that would be ketones in the level of 6.5. We're going to we're going to do some additional talking, a little extra education. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the Facebook group or if it'll just be a webinar, but I really want to teach more about what I've been learning with my ketone meter. I've been measuring with ketone meter, and I want to go. Andrea, is this mostly a raw foods diet? It could be, if that's what you want it to be. It could be cooked. It depends on you. If you have reasons to not be on a lot of raw foods, I don't want you on a raw foods diet. If you got a ripped up gut, you want to heal that first. But it's however you want to do it. What it is a diet that is free of preservatives and additives and processed food. And it's a diet that's low glycemic, that's whole, that's mostly plant-based. You can add a little bit of good quality organic meat to it, but it's mostly plant-based. My recipes are all plant-based to accommodate for the poor plant-based eaters among us, including myself, who have to adapt to every recipe book out there. But you can add meat to every one of them. What do I think of the Himalayan salt lamp? I don't know much about them. My son gave me a little one, and I've heard that they're good, but it's off topic right now. Katie wants to know, how does this differ from the Sweet Spot 30-day metabolic reset? Well, we had the mini version of it that we offered last year, which was you don't get any support with the metabolic reset, the 30-day metabolic reset. You don't get any support. You don't get the Facebook group. You don't get any calls. You just get the page on the website that has your recipe guide, your menu planner, and a video that tells you how to do it. And that's it. So is the program done on my own time? Absolutely. It's all self-paced. And then we have support calls in between. Can I speak with someone tomorrow? Shar. Lynn, if you can get her information, and you can actually, if you click to the link, the startsweetspot.com, there's a little chat down there, and you can put your information there, and somebody will definitely get back to you. If I join this program, how would I balance it with the grand program? I don't want to overwhelm myself with too much info. That might be a good conversation to have with somebody like Lynn, because I don't want to confuse the rest of the folks, but it totally works very well to do them together. How much magnesium? You saw my chart that I had up before, 400 to 800, 400 to 800, and you want to balance that with your gut. Like if you get diarrhea or loose stools from it, you want to make sure that you're that you cut back. So it's going to vary. Everything is individual. I will give you guidelines, but I want to help you to customize this to you, because that's the problem with just getting a book. You read the book and now you have to do what they say, and it may not work for you. So I want to help you with measuring your blood glucose, measuring how you feel, doing some tracking and charting, and then you get to do it. On average, how much time do I need to invest per day in the program? In the program materials or doing the program? The program is your life, right? So what the time you're going to invest is the time that you normally would be preparing meals. You're going to be preparing these much healthier meals. You're going to add some exercise to your day. So anywhere from 4 minutes, if you're doing the minimal amount with burst training, up to 30 minutes. So, exercise would be 4 to 30 minutes. Food prep would be the same as it is now. You just have to prep your food. Sleep is, hopefully you're sleeping. Okay. The stress transformation you can do across the day in 5 to 10 minutes. So that's, we're talking about 30 to 40 minutes of activities that you need to be doing. And then finally, in terms of studying materials, as much or as little as you want. I mean, the videos are like a half an hour each. You can watch them, you can learn. I would say that what you're going to invest is your life. This is your life. So Michelle, I would reach out on that little chat that's on there about the payment plans. John, I'm not overweight, but I have some insulin sensitivity issues, which showed up as some significant hypertension. Will this program affect the blood pressure also? Absolutely. I mean, we have people that have normalized their blood pressure. One lady, she normalized her blood sugar, her blood pressure, and her weight, and her hormones, her adrenals and all. Yes, absolutely. How do you recommend pace oneself while doing the program? You do it at your own pace. You add one thing at a time, one thing at a time, one thing at a time. Oh my, yeah. I did bright line eating for many weeks and found it to be too difficult because it was so very restrictive. No sugar, no flour, and everything had to be measured. It's sweet spot based on the same principles. We do not encourage measuring your food. If you want to, you're fine with that. But there is no sugar and flour. So if you want a plan that helps you to reverse insulin resistance and get rid of your belly fat, feel better, prevent heart disease, prevent Alzheimer's, and you want to eat sugar and flour, you're going to have to find a different program because this ain't it. But yes, it's still no sugar and flour, but you do not have to measure anything. You're going to just eat sensibly. You want to spread the meals out like they do in bright line eating, 3 meals a day. That's it. But no, you don't have to measure anything. Rosemary, I recently heard you talk about monk fruit. Have you changed your mind about that? I finally got some and have found it good for some things, not so good for others. I like it. I mean, you'll have to use your own judgment and feeling about how it works. I don't know what kind of things you're trying to use it for. I've never used it for baking, for example, because I don't bake, but I use monk fruit a lot. Chris, I missed the past 1.5 hours. Is it possible I can watch a replay? Yes, assuming that the recording works. Yes, what we found out last week is that it takes a little while for the replay to actually get loaded. So it may be later tonight or it may be tomorrow. What we'll do is where you came to sign up for this, we'll let you go and see the replay for a limited amount of time. Okay, but you need to do it quickly. I mean, once it's up. Because we're going to just take everything down after we close program on Wednesday. Can I please extend the final bonus on the interactive call until midnight tonight? Elizabeth, if you sign up by midnight tonight, I will give you that bonus. Okay? But you got to do it by midnight tonight. Okay, Connie, when testing your glucose, you test before you eat, then how long after you eat, and then how long after you eat? Yeah, it's a complicated thing. I'm going to say ideally every 15 minutes. I do it. Sometimes I'll do it every 5-10 minutes just because I'm curious. Sometimes I wait 20 or 30 minutes, depends on what I eat. But initially we recommend every 15 minutes. Can you have dairy on this program? Dairy is on the elimination diet, so we do not recommend dairy. Dairy is actually one of the worst things for insulin resistance. It's got lactose in it, which is a sugar, and then the whey protein actually causes an increase in insulin. So dairy is not recommended. Visitor, I've been diagnosed with CLL. So sorry. Have you seen improvement in cancer with the change in diet? I've tried to eat right for years, but your material sounds like it would be a step up. And I'd like to get rid of belly fat. Yes. Oh, honey, I can't say that we can cure cancer, but the thing that anybody with cancer has to do is clean up your diet. You have to clean up your diet. You have to be super pristine. And we know that blood sugar imbalances contribute. So will this help your leukemia? There have been lots of people who have been helped. So I would say you need to not just clean up your diet. If you still have belly fat and you still have some of that, there's some issues, and I would get your glucose meter and I would get going on this. Even apples could be an issue. Yes, even apples can be an issue. Dates can be an issue. It just depends on you. Everybody's a little bit different. And if I were you, if I was in a situation where I had, well, even though I'm not in a situation where I have cancer, I am pristine with mine. Why? Because I have a family history of it. I have a family history of heart disease, and I'm not going down that path. So those of you who know me, have hung out with me, I am super strict about what I eat and what I drink. And all the things that are important here. So I totally, if you want to talk to somebody about it, fine. But I absolutely think that if you've got any kind of cancer, you should be doing what we're talking about here. I'm already doing the bright line eating. Can I do this as well? I'm afraid to change. You don't have to change. You can, if bright line eating is working for you and the measuring the food doesn't bother you, you can absolutely do this. But we've had plenty of people. We have a whole number of people last year who were from Brightline, and you can adapt it. Like, whereas you are allowed to eat some kind of grain or something, oatmeal or something in the morning, that might not be the best thing, but you can do chia porridge instead, and you can do exchanges. Absolutely works together. We've had a ton of them. In fact, last year, Susan Pierce Thompson was one of our guests on our live stream, and she recommended this to a lot of folks. And I'm one of her bonuses on her, I guess, on her bonus page or something, where I talk for like 2.5, 3 hours about this stuff and hormone balance. Absolutely. Do you think this program will help somebody who has suffered from central artery occlusion in the right eye? I can't say that it will help or cure any kind of condition, but all I know is the body heals when it's in balance. When you get in balance, that's what happens. Nancy wants to know, can you join at any time? Absolutely. You can come back next week and join, or in a month from now or 2 months at $9.97, and you won't get the live calls. So sure, you can join at any time, but do you want to put it on hold? If you have the problems now, you should join now. Connie, for breakfast, I ate chia seeds, flax seeds, blueberries, and coffee with cream and 2 eggs. My glucose was 147. Wow. No, you don't want to add anything to lower that. You want to take out the coffee and cream and eggs and possibly blueberries. Get yourself a meter, test it before, test each of those foods individually. I doubt it's the chia seeds. I doubt it's the flax seeds, but everything else is suspect. All right, I'm going to go back over here. And you guys, these kinds of questions, you're getting into a lot of depth and a lot of personal stuff. That's what we do in the program. We have a lot more time and a lot more leisure right now. Is not the time to really get into some in-depth, how to personalize it. That's what we do in the program. And it's pretty amazing. Elizabeth, I wish this program had lifetime access. I'm going to tell you guys a secret. We generally, here's the thing. You have lifetime access to the materials. Why? Because everything's downloadable. And we have never thrown anybody out of the membership site. And I can't promise that'll always happen, but we've never stopped person's access to the materials. But you can download it. All right. So let's see. I don't see. Oh, here's one. Rosalie. What was the third? It was DHA. The omega-3 fat DHA. So Elizabeth, you'll get the bonuses we talked, the bonus of that extra call for cravings and food addictions and emotional eating. If you sign up, and you asked if you could do it by midnight, I'm going to give you till midnight. You have until midnight tomorrow night to get the specials and all the calls and the special pricing. So that's midnight tomorrow night. Yep, midnight tomorrow night. Okay. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions. Lynn, do you see any other questions? Do you recommend any cooked food for... No, Gina, it depends on what's going on with your gut. Everything's personalized. If somebody has irritable bowel and they have Crohn's or ulcerative colitis and your gut is ripped up, if you eat too much raw fiber, it's going to rip it up more. So I oftentimes recommend people do raw foods as juices, green juices, during that first month, and then more cooked vegetables, actually best if they're blended to help the gut heal. That's a whole different program. We have a whole program on that. But that's not what we're talking about here. How much DHA? DHA is on the slide, about 350 milligrams. All right. I think that's it. I don't see any others. All right. What was this one? Andrea from Maryland, do you offer a payment plan? Yes. We offer a payment plan. Go to the site and click it, and you'll see. I think there's a 3-pay plan. Absolutely. All right. Okay. All right. All right. I don't see any more. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I so appreciate it. I'm going to look to see if we have anybody that's joined us. I don't see that list on here this time like you did last time. Kelsey, let me look I'll look real quick because I want to welcome you guys who've joined. We had a whole bunch of people join earlier today. And I'll tell you in a second. Okay, here we go. Oops. Here we go. Okay. Looks like Rena. I'm not sure if it's Rena or Rena, and John, Katie, Mary, Michelle. Welcome. Let me see if there's more. Noreen, Blake, Denise, David, Joyce. Now, these all signed up today, so I'm not sure if it was right before or after here. So, Deborah, Cindy, Judy. All right. Thank you, guys. And I look forward to getting to know you in the program. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing and for being vulnerable. It's hard. If you've had health challenges for a while, it's time to let go. If you've got specific habits, then it's time to learn and get support to get them to go away. Because here's the thing. What's more important to you? Feeling good for 3 minutes from eating some chocolate cake and then messing with your blood vessels and messing with your blood sugar and increasing your risk of all kinds of disease, or eating some really great foods that are good and nourishing for you and having that support your system? Disease is about imbalance. Health is balance. When you ask, will it help this disease or that disease or another? I can't say for certain. What I know is disease is imbalance, health is balance. And when you restore the body to balance, that's when you get healthy. And when you say, I'm going to do this tomorrow, you may not have it tomorrow. And I don't mean to be gloom and doom, but that was my mom and dad. They didn't have it tomorrow, right? If they had known the day before they died that they were going to die the next day if they didn't change their habits, do you think they would have? If you knew that next week you were going to die if you didn't do what I'm teaching you to do, you'd do it. But we just take our lives for granted. We just play Russian roulette with our lives. I'll just have one more piece of cake and I'll just get stressed out another time and I'll have some more coffee with cream in it and I'll eat at the restaurant and eat whatever they give me. It's Russian roulette with your health, in my opinion. So it's up to you now. I don't care if you do it with me or you do it by yourself. What I care about is that you do it. What I know is that most people, when they don't have the support, they don't stick with it and they don't know exactly what to do. You heard all the stuff I gave you, all the information I gave you, but it wasn't enough because we only had a short period of time together. It wasn't enough to get you up to speed to be able to make good choices. You join the program, you're going to get access to the membership site. You're going to get plenty of information and videos and checklists and support to take you through it step by step. You can go through it at your own pace. There's no rush. But do it. I mean, do something because something's got to change. If these things have been around for a while, if you've been diagnosed with some really awful disease, the time to shift is now. It's not to play around and wait till tomorrow or do part of it and hope you can get away with that. The time to do it is now. All of it. Somebody asked the question, what do I do to lead a long and healthy life? What do you think we've been talking about for the last hour and a half? You do the things I told you about. I gave you enough to get you started. Did I give you enough to get all the way through? For some of you, yeah. But for most, no. And for most, what happens is you're back here the next time I do a talk looking for answers. Stop looking for answers and start implementing the answers you've already got. Looks like a few more questions or comments came in, so I'm going to look at them because I like to help people and I usually will just keep going with questions. So Connie said, you said no dairy. What about goat yogurt and milk? Here's the thing. They still have whey, but not as much whey. They still have lactose, and they're great foods for baby goats. They're great foods for baby goats. Yogurt is the safest way to drink milk of any species. When you take it and you ferment it, it has to be raw. It has to be uncooked. It can't be pasteurized. And it needs to be from a cow or a goat that has been raised without antibiotics on organic food. You get the picture? You can't just go to the store and buy goat milk or cow's milk or yogurt or anything and expect that it's going to be good for you. Right? I'm opposed to it. I have done enough research and enough studying to not think that dairy products are good. Now, there's times when organically raised cow and you take the colostrum to help somebody with a severe immune deficiency or a newborn baby. I mean, there's times for it. The average adult doesn't need it. And so, if you really want to do it, you can do our program, but I can't endorse it. Are there a lot of legumes in the recipes? There's no legumes in the recipes, Ella. You can add them if you want. You can add a little bit of lentils or whatnot, but no. Most of the recipes are primarily vegetables. Any tips for moments when you feel it's difficult to avoid gluten? Think about what matters most and just avoid it. I mean, I don't have patience for that. Just do it. That's all I can say. Don't eat gluten. It's screwing with you, right? Love yourself enough to say no. Love feeling good enough to say no way to gluten, right? Yeah, that's what I say. Just love yourself is what I say. With chronic lymphocytic inflammation, yes. So yeah, if you've got that, yeah, absolutely. Do the cooked foods. Absolutely. On the program, could we put questions and get your answers? You come to the calls, you ask me the questions, you can type them in advance and I will answer them. Absolutely. But I'll answer them on the calls. I do not do personal emails with folks though. Not at this level, not at this investment. We have a high level of program that you can get that from me, but not at this level. And you can put it into the Facebook chat where everybody can see, but there's no private email. No, can't do it. There's no way we could do it. All right. All right. Wonderful, everybody. You always take care. Have a great one, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye. Much love. Just do it. It's my motto for tonight. Just do it.